Peace, family. Thanks for tapping in with me on this Blizzy Speaks Part 3. And what I want to do is follow up off the last one, which was on the topic of foundational Black Americans. And we want to start off with word semantics. So this is obviously a new term. It's even new to some of us that identify that way. So we're currently in a grace period of spreading awareness and giving knowledge and understanding on what the term means and why we chose to identify that way. But what we won't have is the game of word semantics, where we're encountering people from other sub-Black cultures that choose to push back on the term, where they really have no place to do so in the dialogue. So let's be very clear. We're not asking permission to identify ourselves this way. We're informing you that this is how we're choosing to identify. Which we have some Pan-African movement comrades who are in support of, and they understand, and they're playing their part, as well as the way we choose to play our part in regards to how we communicate and network with the other subcultures in the Pan-African movement. We understand that there is one Black and we are one Black culture, but we also understand that in these subcultures we have different experiences, so we identify ourselves as such. Now, for those that are choosing to troll and play the word semantic game of saying this is divisive, we're going to nip that in the bud early on. Now, if you are, for example, Puerto Rican and you choose to identify as Boricua, there's nothing wrong with that. That isn't being divisive. Another example, if you are of Caribbean descent, you identify as being West Indian, there isn't anything divisive about that. We respect that, and we expect to be respected for how we're moving forward and being identified. There's only been so long that there's going to be an explanation period, and it's pretty much that when you identify as being Black or African American, that can sometimes get blended in with other sub-Black cultures. With saying that we're foundational Black Americans gives it more identity. Now, another example is the Labor Day Parade, which is also known as the West Indian Day Parade. This isn't an act of being divisive. We respect it. Many of us even participate in it. And what most don't realize is that the Labor Day Parade was already in existence. And I do have some notes here to be factual. The original Labor Day Parade took place on September 5th in 1882. That was a multi-cultural parade of labor workers. A part of the population that made that parade take place was a lot of civil rights activists and leaders of the African American community. Now, it wasn't until the 1920s that the West Indian Day Parade was formed, and at that time it didn't take place in Brooklyn, where the original Labor Day parades were taking place. The original West Indian Day parades took place in Harlem. Now, they were shut down and revoked in 1964 due to a riot that took place. So 1964 was shut down 5 years later, it was moved to Brooklyn on the same day as the Labor Day Parade, in which a lot of violence throughout the years often takes place at the Labor Day parades. And we never point a finger as African Americans and say, hey, look at the culture that's going on there. And we don't intend to do so, but we also don't intend to be disrespected and for the claims to be stated that we don't have a culture. So what we need to do here is clean up our house. We'll clean up our house as far as the Pan-African culture, and also personally as far as foundational Black Americans. And what I would like to see more at these parades is more unity. It doesn't belong to one Black culture. So we should see more foundational Black Americans participating in these parades with more pride. The red, black, and green flag representing all Black cultures. We have African American flags. We also have African American Day Parade that takes place in Harlem, which usually have a pretty positive turnout. So we should definitely be more supportive in that area as well. Now, on to the next part of our video. What we want to make sure, while this dialogue is fresh, because we're all engaged in it, we want to make sure that this dialogue isn't taken over by celebrities. If we noticed, it's been trending all on YouTube. The dialogue is there. We know they've seen it. We know everyone knows that the dialogue is taking place. We know that Fat Joe stepped down from the BET Awards, so we know that there's a lot of chatter behind the scenes. And normally when the chatter is happening behind the scenes in Hollywood and you don't see it on the forefront, they're coming up with a strategy on how they want to take leadership of that energy. So we should be on the lookout for that and prepared to dismantle any attempts to take leadership as far as celebrities of this movement. This movement must remain with the people. While we're still fresh in the dialogue, we also need to stay focused on spreading awareness, spreading information so that we're all on the same page of understanding, as well as staying focused on what the target and goal is. Our target as foundational Black Americans must be to lead ourselves into successfully getting our reparations. Now, what can we do to gear up for that? We must arm ourselves with knowledge. We can look at the reparations that took place in America already. We know that Native Americans receive reparations, as well as the Jewish community. And many, like myself, who didn't know until recently doing research, Japanese people got reparations here as well. So we can look at those situations and see what did they do to accomplish the above said, with taking into consideration that our situation is unique in the sense that our experience took place here directly. Well, the Native Americans did as well. So that is pretty similar. But it does seem as if when it comes to our reparations, they're a little bit more apprehensive about giving that to us because they fear retaliation. So we may have to, alter our strategy naturally as a given. But we can still look at those patterns and see what it took and use those. When you go to court and you have a case, you will often research cases that were similar or showed any type of similarity a lot of times there's more than one case, and you would use those in your case as examples to why you should get what you're asking for. So we can use something like that and then come up with something new and creative in addition to that. So that should be our homework currently. I have another point here on something that has been taking place in this dialogue amongst foundational Black Americans, and it's that New York didn't create hip-hop, so to say, which is also a silly narrative. And their claims of that is because the samples that were used early on come from Southern music. Now, what I don't want to be overlooked is the fact that New York, African Americans, foundational Black Americans, we are the people that came from the South. So when you say that the samples were created by Southern foundational Black Americans, you're talking about us. Many of us took place in that whole migration of Black people coming up from the South and getting involved in the Harlem Renaissance, where you can see early on distinctions of Southern music. Jazz was a really dominant music of the Harlem Renaissance, and then you had the dances, the Lindsay hop, which is also known as swinging. And today, when you look at the Get Light movement in Harlem, the dances mirror dances from then. We went on to the other boroughs as well. There was a lot of hip hop and rap that took place early on in Brooklyn. So it's arguably that Brooklyn could have been the borough where hip hop started, but we identify it as being the Bronx where it originated. But this was taking place across the 5 boroughs. So again, we are the people that came up from the South. We just left there and went up north for a better way of life, or so we thought. That was our idea. One last point I want to make before we get off of this topic is the whole idea that Tariq Nasheed may have trademarked the name Foundational Black American, and that you can't trademark a lineage. Obviously, it wouldn't be trademarking a lineage, but he would be able to, or anyone would be able to trademark a name. Now, I wouldn't be so opposed to that, because if someone doesn't trademark it, then it'll be up for grabs. And what would happen at that point is it'll fall right back into the hands of the oppressor. So I really don't mind if anyone from the culture trademarked it. It would just be about how they chose to use it, and if they're going to use it for the betterment of themselves, their culture, and their people. If you do some research, we'll probably find out or be surprised how many of these names that are identified with lineages may be copywritten. So I don't think we should get caught up in the fight of that. We should stay focused, and I think we're in a really good place right now where this dialogue is. We're all seeming to be on the same code and acknowledging who we are and our response to what is taking place right now. So I definitely want us to keep on track of that and just continue to move forward and stay focused. Salute to the real rights. You know what I'm saying? All these flags, the American flag, Jamaican flag, all of these flags only represent the land and the government that colonized and enslaved our people, you know? But really, that red, green, and black flag, that represents all black people. I got a message for you. I got a message for you. It's only one black, one black, one black, one black, one black, one black. It's only one black, one black, one black, Put it together, don't divide that. One black, one black, one black. That's only one black, one black, one black. That's only one black.